Hello and welcome back to the Sewing Journal series. This week I'm excited to share some updates from last week, share some new projects I was working on, and maybe some other bits and bobs thrown in there. So let's get to it. So last week I shared about my little tank, my first design that I've been working on. I did 2 versions of the half size and next had moved on to the full-size version. I'm happy to report, made some progress. This will be one of the front panels, obviously. Have another front panel and then the back panel all finished out. The material I'm using is actually a jumpsuit that I had bought from Forever 21 years ago. Really wanted to make use of it. It's really beautiful, kind of black, very drapey fabric with a medallion kind of print on it. And I also wanted to share the inspiration picture that I'm going off of, so I'll throw that up here. Found this on Pinterest, I think, looking for European outfit travel inspo for this summer, and just really was taken by the shape and the vibe of the whole top. So I'm really excited to kind of recreate it in my own way with this material, get some good use out of, and yeah, just make it my own. Basically, the main progress on the full-size version was to cut out the fabric, iron everything, finish the edges of each piece. I just did a double rolled hem for the side seams to finish them all around, and then I prepared the ties. So everything is prepped material-wise. The next step I'll have to do is attach the channel rectangles onto the back side or the wrong side of the material, and then feed the ties through, and then we're all done. So it's gone fairly quick. A lot of what I spent my time on this week was the ironing, the pinning very meticulously to get everything to look clean. It took a lot of time to do that, but I'm really pleased with the finish of everything. It's looking crisp. I'm really proud of how I'm taking my time with it. It feels like a time investment and something that I'll be even more proud of this top for once it's completed. I also wanted to share, while I was ironing and working through maybe the less sexy steps of sewing, I listened to some really interesting podcasts and audiobooks and wanted to share the recommendations. So the podcast I listened to is 28-ish Days Later from BBC Radio, and it's all about the menstruation cycle, basically covering the different seasons, how it changes their body, the biology of why we have periods, the history of what periods meant. A lot more in the show than I'm covering, but it was really interesting. Super short episodes too. It's really fun to listen to, and I learned a lot from it and felt empowered from it too. And then the other rec from a author that is highly recommended from one of my dear friends. The book is The Ocean at the End of the Lane. Super interesting storytelling, stream of consciousness writing, kind of easy to get lost in, you know, the fantasy mystery of what the story is about while I was working on my ironing. It's been a great listen so far, so definitely recommend checking it out. My second update from this week is that I've gotten back into my Omega Quilt Along. Well, really, I missed the quilt along, so it's just me working on the Omega quilt. But it's a really fun one by Miss Make. It's a beautiful wavy checkerboard. For the materials, I thrifted 2 bed sheets. I think both cotton. One of them is like a light grayish blue, really soft color, and the other is kind of a lavender purple, and it has this extra floral texture to it. You can only really catch the texture in the sunlight, but really beautiful, sort of a low contrast checkerboard, but I think the texture element was really interesting for me. I started it, I don't even know when the quilt along started, probably early spring. Ideally taking 6 weeks to finish a quilt, but I have surpassed that immensely. And so I had, I think, just cut and pieced everything by the time it had finished and fully set it aside. So this is actually the first time I've picked it up again, probably since June or July. So really happy to report some progress made. Start here with the strips that I've already pieced in their little sets. And then here I have pinned the pieces together. It's a good call to use many pins for the curved edges. I have a couple more to sew still. These are the completed sets. This is what one looks like. Some of them are pretty good. Others are a little bit off. And then next I'll piece the set of 2 together. I'm thinking I'll get back into it as kind of a more casual, ongoing sewing project, especially as the weather gets colder and you know, as I have audiobooks and podcasts to listen to, I can just kind of work away. On this one, I was really excited to get a bit better with the pinning, especially as it's a wavy checkerboard, and so pinning along the curvy lines. I saw more consistency in how I was pinning and preparing the seams to be sewn, and that felt like a significant change from how I had pinned and prepared these pieces before. So that was interesting to witness and feel really pleased of how overall it seems like I'm just taking my time with these projects and really giving a lot of attention to detail, and it feels really fulfilling. That's my reflection for the day on quilts, on listening to good stuff while you're working, and I think with that we'll call it a day. Thanks everyone.